Okay, we're back. We're live. We're at Think Tech Talks here on a given Tuesday. In the 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock block on Think Tech Talks. And we're going to talk about the Hawaiian Telecom University, which is Hawaiian Telecom University 2014. And we have here to help us understand what it is, Ryan Miyamoto. He's the Senior Product Manager of the business market here in Honolulu, or in Hawaii, I guess. And Earl Ford, who's the President of Systemetrics right here in the building. Welcome to the show, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to have you here.
Good to be here.
Nice to be enveloped in all this technology, which you guys understand. You even help us with this. So this thing about the university is fascinating, you know? Because, I mean, you know, school, training, education has to be ubiquitous. You can't live in the 21st century and get stuck in wherever you finished your formal grades. You have to learn all the time, especially if you're in technology. You know, tech is everything, change is everything. You guys are right in the middle of that. So you're both involved in the Telcom University at the Convention Center, and it's what, tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
Yes.
Tomorrow, that would be the 5th of March.
Correct.
Yes.
And this is not the first time it's happened.
This is actually going to be our, I believe it's our 5th event as Hawaiian Telecom, and it started back in 2009 when we did our first one. It was actually not it was our first as Hawaiian Telecom, but prior to that, our previous companies, GTE as well as Verizon.
I remember that, but I'm old, so I'm one of the guys that remembers that.
Actually, I thought this was going to be my third presentation at NHT University, and then I realized one day while I was cleaning around my computer area, and I noticed my GT mouse pad, and I lifted the GT mouse pad. On the back, I had stuck my name tag from the event back in 1996 when I was actually asked to be one of the presenters. I was a freshman at UH. I just graduated from high school. And I was asked to do a presentation. The theme was...
Even then, they recognized the talent, even then.
It was a digital revolution, and it was all about as schools and education was getting into, at that time, the World Wide Web was just something that we were starting to dive into.
Right.
And I was asked to give a presentation about what we had done at Kailua High School, where I graduated from, on things that we were working on with that. So it will actually be my 4th presentation. I even dug up my old my PowerPoint file from that.
You have to tell us about it. So it's in the Smithsonian, is that it?
I had to find an old computer running an old version of PowerPoint just to run the presentation, just to see what it was. Because I was going to send it to some of our coordinators who are actually running our presentation. I was going to send that in as that's my submission for this year's.
Great. That's great. That's really true. I want to see that. I got to go see that. You know, it's funny. I mean, you got these old programs. I mean, old content written on old programs, but you don't have the programs anymore, and you don't have the machines that'll run the old programs, and it's locked. You're locked out. Yep. It's legacy lockout.
Because the cool thing was, I found it I uploaded it to my own personal cloud, so I had it there. It was just I didn't have a way to open it at that point, and I had to go and dig up the old computer and try to find a way to get it open again.
It's cool. So, Earl, are you going to participate also tomorrow? You're going to be there?
Yes.
So what are you guys going to talk about?
Basically, my presentation is going to be more focused on the cloud. It's titled Hosting a Revolution, and talking about how the cloud has become more prevalent in business and its effect on the business changes and how businesses operate with regard to their technology. And also talk a little about the co-location aspect of it and how businesses are using the cloud to gain efficiency in technology.
Okay, well, I want to drill down on all of that, you know, because I want to get a preview from you guys in as much detail as we can here in our 50 minutes, but more on the program. So, Hawaiian Telecom organizes this program. This is something that's presented by the telephone company.
Yes, this is something that Hawaiian Telecom does as part of our way of helping to bring some of the technology into the islands, into the state. You know, we are the leading provider of many of these technology solutions, and it's part of being able to help educate everyone here. I mean, we've got a large, thriving business market here in Hawaii, but it's not always that you get the opportunity to go to, you know, to some of the larger shows, the larger technology shows, which are
Right.
funded on, you know, on the mainland, but you don't often get to see that here. And you know, this is part of us helping to expand on that and grow on that here in Hawaii, because there's a lot that technology can do, you know, for the businesses here.
Doesn't have to be that way. We could organize Comdex West here and have them all come. You know, who needs Las Vegas anyway? Let's do it here. You know, one day.
I still like going to Las Vegas.
Right, exactly. So, and you bring in speakers for this program from the mainland.
That's correct.
What kind, what quality, what level of speakers do you bring in?
Well, we bring in, you know, from a lot of the partners that we work with on a daily basis, such as Cisco, such as HP, and it is really a great opportunity for us to help bring in, both share that knowledge as well as really share some of the things that we're doing here locally with Earl, with myself and on the Hawaiian Telecom side, and really bring it all together into one condensed event. We know that, you know, it's a lot to ask for folks to come out for even one full day,
Yeah.
you know, to spend time away from their business, but be able to condense all of that, you know, into a really nicely packed day of technology seminars. That's something that we enjoy.
Well, we need that. We all need that. So this is one full day of speakers, panels, and of course the guys from the mainland. What about local? You have Earl, of course, and you have you, of course, right? But what about local companies in the space? Are you bringing them in to sit behind the table also?
Well, we also we have an exhibitor area as well. So we have a certain number of predefined breakout tracks that we have speakers and panels, and within those panels we're also bringing in folks from the community to serve on those panels and to discuss and basically share their experience. And Earl could probably say a lot more about that. That's one of the breakouts that he's leading there. But we try to bring in as much of the local talent as well as you bring in from folks from the outside to share, you know, what's going on in technology.
Why are you doing this? Why is Hawaiian Telecom doing this? How does it benefit Hawaiian Telecom to do this?
I mean, in the long term, a strong local economy is vital for us.
So
It's vital for all of us.
get to the core of it. You want to see the technology industry grow.
That's correct.
You want to see tech diversification.
A strong, vibrant economy.
Could be on the same page here, you know. Think tech.
Could be. A strong, vibrant local technology economy, and it's not just those that are in the technology industry, but even, you know, our supporting industries that use technology in their day-to-day. You know, things like the service industry, hospitality, all of that has a hook back into technology now, and you know, the ability to really break down some of the barriers that used to exist, some of the physical barriers that used to exist just because we're here. Yeah, a lot of those things have gone away, and helping to share that, helping to show businesses how to build upon that, not just those that are in the technology industry, but those, you know, outside of that.
Who might be interested.
Exactly.
You know, possibilities. So just to confirm, it's in the convention center, and it's 8 in the morning.
Yeah. Start off at 8 in the
Who
morning.
decided to start it at 8 o'clock in the morning with that? That's not your decision, is it, right?
If it was my decision, it wouldn't. But, and for those of us who are presenting, we need to be there even earlier.
Oh, sorry to hear
than
that.
that means.
Okay, well, then we can commiserate.
But definitely a packed day full of activities.
So what, you have panels every hour or two? Is that the way where you have individual speakers? I mean, how is this going to roll out?
We're going to start off with the best way to start off is with food. So we'll have a
Food.
start off with breakfast. We know food is.
I got to tell you a
is
short story.
Sure,
But your comment about food is just perfect. You know, years ago, maybe 10, this guy named Robert Olson. Robert Olson ran the new Fitzsimmons. The new Fitzsimmons is just like Tripler, but it's in Denver. Used to be a military hospital, just like Tripler, and they turned it into a big pharma campus with the national pharma companies all taking a piece of space. You know, and they made it into a tech center. And Robert Olson was the guy who did it. And he sat at my table, you know, at HPR a couple times. And I said, well, you know, how did you do this? How did you bring big pharma and all those researchers in, all those high-tech guys, best in the country? How did you bring them into New Fitzsimmons in Denver, you know? And he said, food. It's all about food. Why? because you take researchers or tech in general, and you put them in a meal, and then you let them talk it up and network and talk about their projects and their science. It's like off the record networking, so you're not worried about your IP or anything. And that's what they loved. That's what made, a cloth mother for them. That was the soft and warm, that they could talk to their peers and colleagues and share their science and their passion and all this. And that's how he built it. So you're on the right track with food.
Exactly. This is our fifth, so we've learned quite a bit. And that's a good point in that, as much as we like to talk about, well, because I'm giving one of the presentations, as much as we like to talk about our presentations and Earl's presentations,
we're going to get to that. Right?
One of the values I think of it as well is bringing everybody together, because that's where you see a lot of your peers, even folks who are in the same industry, who are theoretically competing against each other. It's always great to see everybody in the room discussing things that can benefit the collective group. So.
Okay, when you say collective group, I'm really interested in this. But before how do they sign up? If they want to come, or they do walk in, or they got to sign up?
So the registration was open online. I believe we've actually closed off the registration. I think we've hit our maximum right now.
Too bad for you guys. Yeah. but there's a back door.
But I would say we probably have some room for some walk-in capacity. But I would say, for the most part, we wanted to get everybody registered online and through our systems.
Know who you had.
We could size the venue appropriately.
Sure, you got to deal with the venue. Okay, so I guess what I'm interested in is who is there now that you have your attendees all signed up. Who's coming, and what did you want to achieve in terms of an attendee list, and what have you achieved?
Well, when we first started the event has actually evolved over the 5 years. We initially started it out. On the smaller side with a kind of tightly knit group of folks that we brought into this, and then we've expanded from there. Our list right now includes, we have government, we have large business, as well as small business, and we've actually grown the event such that we have enough of a grouping, I guess, enough of a quantity of a grouping to be able to say we're gonna have a track for the larger businesses and government, and we're gonna have a separate track, because we know that although the interests may be similar and may parallel each other, the actual presentations, the actual topics may need to be a little bit different if you're a small to mid-sized business versus you're a larger enterprise customer or a government customer. So we actually have two separate tracks, one for our small to mid-sized business customers and one for our enterprise and our government customers.
So are we talking about IT here? Are we talking about telephony? Are we talking about information technology in general? How broad is the coverage on these panels and speakers? Is it all about telecom, or is it beyond that?
It's beyond that. It's broader in the sense that it's not just about telephony or about a certain piece of technology. In this case, for our 2014 series, we've really built a theme around the cloud, and that can actually have a very broad definition when you think about it. And that's part of what actually my topic is going to be for the small mid-sized business track is leveraging some of the things that we label the cloud, some of which may be telephony, some of which may be more in the way of infrastructure. It can be different things, but really trying to put some clarity around that, and then tie that back to some of the reasons why it's important and some of the things that small and mid-sized businesses can use the cloud for. And it may not be the same thing for every single business. And the intent of it is going to be to develop solutions on the fly for everybody there, but it's really to start to get people to think about the technology and think about ways that they can utilize that in their businesses.
So this is not just a recruiting event for Hawaiian Telecom,
it's an educational event.
For everybody?
Yeah.
What does it cost?
No charge.
What?
Free. Registration, free. So we throw in the food portion of it too.
What?
I mean, it's part of the whole. The purpose of this is to educate help educate the market, help bring some of that, the exposure to the different types of technology that's out there, really bring that back to the larger business community.
Robert Olson would be delighted to know that you were not only providing food, but free food. Did I get it right?
There's no better food than free food.
It tastes better for some reason.
Some reason. I don't know what it is. Okay, so we're going to take a break now, you guys. But when we come back, I want to get a précis from each of you, starting with you, Earl, about what you're going to present tomorrow. Not the whole thing. Okay, but the first few minutes of it. We're just going to we never do this, but today we're going to do it. We're going to let you present, okay, so they can get a taste of what you're going to do tomorrow.
Okay.
Whet their appetite. And then you, Ryan, okay. Okay, Ryan Miyamoto, Senior Product Manager of the Business Market for Hawaiian Telecom, and Earl Ford, the President of Systemetrics. This is Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about Hawaiian Telecom University 2014, which is just so happens it's happening tomorrow, March 5th. We'll be right back after this break.
I'm Hong Jiang, host for Asia in Review on Tuesdays.
And I'm David Day, host for Asian Review on Thursdays. Both of us broadcast our respective shows at 4 p.m.
And my topics tend to deal with questions related to environment, culture, history, and sometimes human rights.
And my shows tend to be on international business, foreign policy, geopolitics, and national security. And you can watch our shows live on the ThinkTech website at thinktechhawaii.com.
And you can also watch us on YouTube or Olalo.
So come join us on Thursdays at 4 p.m. I'm David Day.
And on Tuesdays at 4 p.m., I'm Hong Jiang.
Aloha.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about Hawaiian Telecom University 2014, happening tomorrow at the Convention Center on March 5th. And Ryan Miyamoto, the Senior Product Manager of the Business Market for Hawaiian Telecom, joins us to talk about the program. Also, Earl Ford, the President of Systemetrics, which is a wholly owned subsidiary, is it fair to say?
Yes.
Of Hawaiian Telecom. So let's start with you, Earl. Let's get a précis of what you're going to say tomorrow to this crowd. Not everything, but enough so that they understand where you're coming from. Okay? Take 2-3 minutes.
Okay.
4 even.
Okay. Well, the omelets are down at the end. Well, tomorrow I'm going to be talking about the cloud and more specifically how businesses are leveraging the cloud to actually to improve efficiency and how the businesses how they do and utilize computing has changed from the standard practices and moving into the cloud-based operation, and more specifically around the infrastructure piece of the cloud. So we're going to be talking about co-location and what we call virtual co-location, which is more of a subset of the cloud, and how customers can leverage that to actually gain more operational efficiency and reduce the distractors to their businesses. And additionally with that, we're going to be talking to a couple of guest speakers on the panel that will actually relay some of their experiences with the cloud and how they've been using it.
These are businessmen who have adopted the cloud in their businesses.
Right, exactly. So I think that portion of it will be very interesting, and how a lot of people, like Ryan was saying, is that they don't really, the cloud is this big ubiquitous term that everyone is kind of really, what is it? What's involved in the cloud? And it could be many things, and so we're going to try and narrow that down a little bit and give specific examples of how these customers are leveraging it to actually better their business. Now, the cloud market has been, especially in Hawaii, has been not as tapped as normally. It's like something like it's just a matter of versus a business culture thing. They're moving infrastructure away from their office places. Before it was co-location, you're physically putting it in the data center. That was a cultural shift that companies had of like, what, give you my stuff? What do you mean it's not going to be here? How am I going to do that? Well,
Can't touch it? What do you mean?
Exactly. I can't pet it in the morning. And so now we're doing this not only in data centers, but we're actually doing it without the use of the physical hardware anymore, and how that's leveraged and how this information could be accessed from anywhere on the planet, and how that increases efficiency and reduces distractors to the business. So, we're in the cloud business. We're talking about like phone service. You really don't think or you use it, but you don't really think about what's happening on the back end, and that's where a lot of the resources that companies are using and going into the cloud is to kind of reduce that back end consciousness of the IT infrastructure, and where they can focus more on their business and pushing their businesses forward. Yeah.
That's so interesting. That's where it's. Can I tell you another short story?
Sure.
Just a real quickie. Yesterday, we had a company called Xalo, Xalo, Zola, Xola, Zola, out of San Francisco, out of Silicon Valley. And these guys do bookings, like for a ski trip, and take a hike. It's tourist adventure bookings all over the country. Successful. Got venture capital, got smart guys running them and all that. It's a very elegantly simple website they have, but it does all the back end for the booking. So if I say I want to do hikes in the Rockies, okay, all I got to do is open an account with Zola, and they'll take care of essentially all the business aspects of my business. All I do is the hiking.
Exactly.
And it's that kind of, I think that's what I hear you saying.
Right.
You do the thing you really want to do, the thing that, theoretically makes you the money, that moves you forward. And the other guy, your contractor, Zola, he handles all the bookkeeping, all the marketing, all of the reservations and record keeping and all that. And it's this beautiful thing because you can really focus that way. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Very much so.
Yeah. That's where things are going.
Yeah, and it's very kind of interesting how this the infrastructure on the back end has gone from decentralized back to almost the mainframe kind of days, where we're using a much smaller subset of equipment to actually deliver much bigger gains to the business and that piece of it. So we'll go into just a little bit into that on the technology behind it, but more so how the business case of the use of the infrastructure and the cloud in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what kind of business actually is the case study on your panel? Or maybe there's more than one.
Yes. So we'll have a guest speaker from the state, and then another fairly large entity also here in Hawaii as well, and that multi-site locations, a few hundred employees, kind of thing there.
That's so interesting, the state. You know why? Because they set up this whole thing with Sonny Bagwalia, and he's going to buy $1 billion worth of hardware, and he's going to update the state. When all of a sudden along comes the cloud, and a lot, you don't need as much hardware, do you?
Right.
You just send it and leave it in the cloud, and then you save really a lot of money and trouble and RFPs setting up the hardware. You just put it in the cloud. So there are all these great dreams about expanding the state hardware system. They maybe not so much necessary if you can take at least a part of it and do the cloud thing with it.
Right. Right, and that's exactly a good example. Like a lot of companies are using it in hybrid form to get projects started, and some build internal clouds and some external clouds. But for one reason or another, depending on the business operations, the customers will choose one way or another. It could be comfort with the cloud, security, or things of that nature.
How do you make them feel good about it? I mean, and granted, there's going to be, what do you call it, ordinary business resistance to losing control, not being able to pet it in the morning when you walk in. And you say, here, it's up there somewhere, and your connection, your access to all this data and whatever processing is going on is through this little pipe. Anything goes wrong with the little pipe, and too bad. How do you make them feel comfortable about that? What's the magic, the secret sauce that makes them feel comfortable?
Well, a lot of it is addressing challenges that they may be having. Most of the initial adopters of the cloud platform were the ones that were trying to address certain challenges with their infrastructure. Like power outages, or they physically don't have the infrastructure to support that kind of operation inside of their own premise. So those were prime candidates to the cloud. We had fairly large entities that we have done via Systemetrics in moving an entire data center inside their building into the cloud. And a lot of that, we did it very easily without reloading any equipment. We didn't have to lift any heavy stuff. So a lot of it is showing them at least how easy it is to move things into the cloud. Now, I mean, not be it's an all or nothing proposition. It might be first the communication system or something that they're having issues with that they want to protect, and start small like that, and then moving them in, the rest of their infrastructure in, as they can become more comfortable with it. A lot of, with the platforms also too, is that certified platforms that are that have been audited by third parties and compliant to give them comfort with the security in the cloud. So we've done that as well. But generally speaking, most of the customers that we've run into that have adopted the cloud early on are mainly they were addressing some kind of issue that the cloud solved for them. And as more of these entities went into the cloud, their constituents in their vertical markets, they talk, and then they feel that it's okay. So that was from the onset, that was a very big focus for us to get some of the marquee cloud adopters in there, so that
the others could see.
Others would see that they're okay, we're okay, and this must be something that would be good for our company.
Yeah, and inherent in the cloud is the notion that it's not in one place, but it's in multiple places. And so if Cincinnati falls into the ocean, not that that's going to happen anytime soon, the Great Lakes, whatever, then there'll be another place where the data will be mirrored and redundant, and so you don't have the same risk actually as if you had the box in your office and you pet it every morning.
Right.
Because you have it in multiple places and the security is built in, data security.
Right.
Yeah.
So some of those things that for a customer to have to pay for that for 2 sites, and then lease those 2 sites and put infrastructure at those 2 sites, they'd rather leverage someone else's infrastructure as well. So when you start an office, you don't build the whole building just for you. You'll rent space and find economies in doing that. In Hawaii, because of the distance over the pond, usually the mainland pieces are more for disaster recovery. But in the cloud solutions that we've seen locally here, they're leveraging multiple data centers for either backup or primary operations as well.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to find that in some ways Hawaii is behind, but it's also interesting to find that we are aware of what the latest is, and that we have the political will, business will, to bring it out here and be exposed to it and talk about it and try to get people to come along. I mean, I always say that Hawaii came into the 21st century kicking and screaming. And to some extent, that's still happening. You guys have got to fix that. Okay, well, Ryan, what do you think on a 4.0? Does Earl get to 4.0, or does he get a 3.9?
Well, I'll give him a 3.9 so he has something to shoot for.
Yeah, exactly.
We always set our targets.
We'll have this conversation again tomorrow. Yeah. But keep in mind that I get to have the same conversation with him after you're finished. Okay, so now you can address the camera and tell us what you're going to be talking about.
So, my presentation tomorrow is going to be somewhat similar to Earl's in terms of looking at how we can leverage the cloud. The cloud being that ubiquitous term that really is an umbrella of many different things. My breakout is going to be more aligned towards the small to mid-sized businesses, and for a lot of these folks, they actually use the cloud in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's one of the things that's probably changed over the last few years, is that the cloud has always sort of existed, and we've started to use it and not actually realize that is a cloud technology. So a good example that I'm going to use tomorrow is even electronic mail, email. many of us are using a hosted solution for that type of service, whether you're using a hawaiiantel.biz address, whether you're using a Gmail address. That's all various flavors of a cloud-based email solution. And so many of us probably don't even realize that we're actually using the cloud within our businesses. And that's one of the things that I'm gonna talk about, is that really trying to put some clarity around when we say the cloud. It's not this foreign thing that it's something that's technological. I need to necessarily go and get an IT person to explain this to me. A lot of this is stuff that we use every day, and there's a lot of things that we can do to take next steps into utilizing it and being able to enhance our business processes, what we do on a daily basis, so that we really can separate out what's your core business from a core business function. Because a lot of times we focus a lot on those core business functions, things like answering the phone to take an order, or being able to communicate to a customer with an email. Those are core business functions, but that's not what you do as your core business. Your core business is your actual business, whether it's
Hiking.
baking the perfect cupcake, and whatever it is, that's your core business.
Yeah.
And you want to be able to focus really, like you said earlier, not so much on the logistics around the hike, right? Not so much around the marketing around that, but really around the experience that your end user customers are going to derive from that, and let somebody else deal with the technology, the logistics, all the other portions of that actually make that experience come together. The core functions that actually help that business operate. Separate that out, let other folks do that, so you can concentrate really on your core business. And so I'll be going through several examples of that, and then I'll have a case study as well. We have a customer who's utilizing the cloud for various business processes in their business, and what it's done, why they did it, what it means to them, and how it fits into their overall business, and allows them to really concentrate on what they do well, which is their core business.
Okay, we'll take a short break while I think about that and digest it. We'll come back and let's talk about exactly what services you're talking about offering them.
Sure.
And also about the latest and greatest technologies that are inherent in all of that, so that at least we know what's out there. That's Ryan Miyamoto. He's the Senior Product Manager for Hawaiian Telecom in the business market, and Earl Ford, the President of Systemetrics. I'm Jay Fidell. This is Think Tech Talks, and we're talking about Hawaiian Telecom University 2014, which is at the Convention Center tomorrow, March 5th. We'll be right back. Think Tech. Castle and Cook, Hawaii. Investing in Hawaii, creating communities, and providing for the needs of our state. Collateral Analytics, empowering the real estate industry to make better informed property investment decisions. The Foreign Trade Zone, bringing the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone programs to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. Galen Ho, a senior executive of BAE Systems, a global defense, security, and aerospace company. Hawaiian Electric Company and its affiliates Maui Electric and Hawaii Electric Light Company on Hawaii Island. The Hawaii Energy Policy Forum, incorporating diverse perspectives to design a flexible and forward-looking energy strategy. Hawaii Energy, the state's energy and efficiency program created to help Hawaii's residents and businesses adopt a clean energy lifestyle. Hawaii Gas, helping Hawaii achieve its transition to clean energy and a better energy future. Hawaii Pacific Health, bringing technology and teamwork together to transform healthcare in Hawaii. The High Tech Development Corporation, attached to DBED, is the state's leading technology agency. The Scheidler Family Foundation, supporting educational, cultural, and charitable organizations, including Think Tech. Okay, we're back. No surprise, we're back. Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell, and we're talking, just as we were before, about Hawaiian Telecom's University 2014, which is at the Convention Center tomorrow. A full-day program with multiple panels, all about the latest and greatest technology in and beyond telecom that Hawaii should be aware of, and the Hawaii tech industry should be aware of, and the Hawaii business community should be aware of. This is really nutritious. Ryan Miyamoto, Senior Product Manager in the business market, and Earl Ford, the President of Systemetrics, join us for this program. Thank you, gentlemen, again. So you're talking, Ryan, about, as I see it, 3 levels. One is Hawaiian Telecom provides services of some kind in or for the cloud and other things, I suppose. The second is there's a layer of techie guys out there, small tech companies or tech companies that are yet to be formed. You know what I mean? Because we would like to see them form. We'd like to see this industry grow. We'd like to be the best and the brightest. And then there's the business guys who go for a hike. That's our case study for the show. They want to do hiking, and they don't want to be troubled with back end. So the guys who create the back end and the telecom, which provides the elements to help them do that. So which one of those 3 tiers, which combination of those 3 tiers do you guys do?
Yeah, at this point, it's primarily a combination of 1 and 2. And one of the cool things I think
That is the basic services, the cloud services,
correct.
and then
The actual connection to
doing the logistics in order to serve the business.
as well as some of those applications that actually belong in there. So when we look at what we do today at Hawaiian Telecom, it's 3 primary things: connect, communicate, and collaborate. And it's enabling those 3 things for businesses. So that encompasses largely that first layer of how do we actually connect customers to the cloud, because to get to the cloud and to get to those applications, you somehow have to connect to that. And connecting businesses to that cloud is it's one of our core things that we've been doing for over 130 years or so. Then the next layer down, which is those actual applications, those functions that reside in the cloud, and it can be in a data center, it could be in a private cloud type of setup for an organization. That next layer down is one of the areas that we're starting to grow our portfolio of products. Starting with where we started with voice as a cloud-based service. We have a hosted voice solution that allows businesses to take that key function and move that into the
Just
cloud.
answer the telephone kind of
Be
thing.
able to deliver a complete unified communication solution. So not just being able to answer the phone, but being able to know where that phone call is going, and route that phone call appropriately so that it can be answered and handled appropriately, and moving those functions out into the cloud. But there's many, many other things in that second layer, which is one of the cool things about the technology, is that it's, there's a lot of room in there for innovation today. And we're, as a company, we're moving further and further down that path, starting with something that's very near and dear to us, which is that core communication capability. But definitely in those first two layers.
Yeah. Well, what's really interesting about it is that, as you said, and I really absolutely agree with this. We're only starting.
Yeah.
And the whole advent of the cell phone and the smartphone and all that showed us the capability of the phone as an instrument, to do much more than just talking on the phone. But you can take a hint from that, and you can build a whole company. I always say, and you must have been around this a long time, Earl, is you take a business and you say, I'm coming in, I'm going to rewrite your website.
Right.
And then you wind up rewriting the company. Because technology drives new models for companies all the time. And if you're not rewriting the company, it's a lousy job. You've got to rewrite the company because the technology is so far ahead of where the company used to be. It's just the same thing here. You take the elements of telephony and you can rewrite the company with that. It's essentially a marriage of telephony and coding the operations of the company.
Mm-hmm.
If then. Case statements. So all that. So you have coders, you have programmers who are waiting in the wings, in the audience, ready to code, make programs. What?
Let's hope so. I mean, we've got a very large technology team that's one of the things that we work through on a day-to-day basis. In my role as a product manager is building out that roadmap and that plan in terms of where we're going, and it's a very exciting area. Like you said, I mean, it's one that it doesn't have a predetermined path yet. It's one that has a lot of opportunity there for not just us, but many organizations here in the state.
Yeah, we've only begun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I just wonder what the challenges are, because here we are in a moment of cognition, a moment of training, a moment of awareness, new awareness. I think that's what this university reflects. But there must be issues that you have to get around. There must be, problems on the list of problems to solve. What are they, and what are their solutions, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so some of the problems around there really, what we run into is more finding the right personnel to actually drive these solutions into place. Infrastructure is not so much of a problem because you can always order that or pull that circuit here and there, but that layer where of the managed layer where right below the guy taking the hike, right, that are kind of coordinating everything, actually working on the system. So, and I think here in Hawaii that's been the challenge for our company, is actually finding the right personnel to kind of keep driving these solutions forward and keep up to date on
You mean
that.
we don't have them? We don't have the people. We don't have the trained technology people who we would like to have to do some of these things.
Right. Or else we're always importing them, and that's kind of
which
where.
is a one-way, sometimes a two-way street.
Right,
And
right.
They come and then they go.
Right. Yeah, and that's always been something that we've had to deal with, and I think sometimes that kind of slows a little bit of the progress going forward. And these people actually help the businesses drive that innovation and thinking forward thinking, as opposed to if you have someone that's doing the same thing around the same crowd, they're not really driving forward, they're just kind of maintaining. And so the personnel is the human side of it is very, very, very important to the solution. We call it the social engineering piece of it, and then you have the technical engineering piece of it, and those two go hand in hand to develop any solution, not just the cloud as well.
Yeah.
So that's one of the big challenges that in driving our solutions, and especially in the cloud, it's a little bit more technical. On the back end, we have a lot more critical infrastructure, and it has to be done, just precisely right, or else, you have stability issues, you have, work stoppage, things like that. So the stakes are higher in the cloud industry, and especially on the back end and that top layer where the infrastructure lies, and that sometimes has to work its way out. We've done a good job on our platform, and we gained a lot of our market share just on the stability of our cloud platform. And that wasn't the case for a lot of other companies starting out because of the infrastructure and how it was built, and it's a learning process for a lot of the technicians. And so I always will bet on the company that has the best mind talent.
Sure, it's all about human resources.
Right.
We're going to take one more last break, you guys,
Okay.
and come back, and we're going to talk about how this reflects a strategy by Hawaiian Telecom, and what that strategy is, and where we're going to go with it. Okay, the best part of the show. Save it for last.
Okay.
Okay, that's Ryan Miyamoto, a Senior Product Manager, Business Market for Hawaiian Telecom, and Earl Ford, the President of Systemetric, a subsidiary of Hawaiian Telecom. This is Think Tech Talks. I'm Jay Fidell. We're talking about Hawaiian Telecom University, and I'm sure that name was chosen carefully in view of our discussion. We'll be right back after this last break.
Aloha, I'm Nicole Horry for Think Tech. For nearly half a century, the Hawaii Foreign Trade Zone No. 9 has brought the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone program to Hawaii businesses and entrepreneurs. DBET, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, operates Hawaii's Foreign Trade Zone program to encourage international business and economic development. The Foreign Trade Zone's mission is to increase the amount of international trading activity in Hawaii, thereby providing employment opportunities for the residents of our island state. For more information, see ftz9.org. I'm Nicole Horry. Mahalo.
Okay, we're back. We're live. We're Think Tech Talks, talking about Hawaiian Telecom University 2014 in the Convention Center tomorrow, March 5th, starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, and going all day to 5. Yeah, really chock-a-block with all kinds of good technology for the community. And if you didn't know, too late for you. It's free. Anyway, Ryan Miyamoto, Senior Product Manager, Business Market, which is, a significant point of this discussion, and Earl Ford, President of Systemetric, right here in our building. That is Pioneer Plaza, at the core of downtown, where all our shows emanate. It's important. Okay, so I wanted to cover at the last This reflects to me a strategical move. I mean, I don't know what the university was like in years past, but from your discussion today, it sounds like the university is really looking forward now, trying to get its arms around the latest and greatest technology and offer that to the public, especially the business public. And so there's got to be a strategy in there somewhere. And what is that strategy? And where is that strategy going to take us? You have 5 minutes for your answer.
5 minutes?
And you'll be graded at the end of it. Yeah.
Great. Hope it's on the curve. Well, yeah, I mean, like we've been saying, I think pretty much through the hour or so, our strategy here is not so much around a selling type of aspect. A lot of things, are around selling or proposing products and so on. Really, the strategy around Hawaiian Telecom University is one of education, right? Getting the word out, talking about different things that are important both from us within the technology world as well as the larger industry here overall in Hawaii. But for Hawaiian Telecom, ultimately it comes down to those three core things that I mentioned. Okay? Always being able to connect, always being able to communicate, always being able to collaborate. And the cloud, our theme for this year, really ties into that, because that is really, the umbrella around bringing a lot of these collaboration tools, these communication tools, and getting it all connected, getting businesses connected to that cloud, and tying it all together and really allowing us to look at ways to move forward and leverage what's out there. Not just what's out in the general technology arena. I think going back to one of the things we were talking about earlier, just the fact that you can take a tour of the data center, it's just a metrics data center, being able to see, and being able to visualize that. I mean, I think that's a huge thing for a lot of folks because of that whole human portion of it, which is, as you mentioned, if I can't see it or if I can't touch it in the morning, does it exist? But being able to see that this, that you've got this very large, very robust, very resilient physical presence, understanding how that fits into the larger, broader definition of the cloud, and being able to put all that together. I mean, I think that's really what we're trying to do at Hawaiian Telecom, is really bring that education out and awareness out, and really start the conversation in terms of helping businesses utilize the technology to grow, because we all benefit. I mean, not just me selfishly or us selfishly as providers, but also as just in general. If the more businesses flourish here, the better it is for all of us here living here.
Right on, and I want to just tell you our agenda, ThinkTech's agenda, is to raise public awareness about the importance of technology, the future of the state, the economy, diversification. Old word, goes back to Ariyoshi, maybe Jack Burns back before him. It's about diversification, so that we're not reliant on tourism only. Although tourism is a great market too for technology, as a market,
right,
as a consumer. But anyway, I wanted to ask you this. I mean, is there a connection, and to what extent is there a connection between what you're doing and what you're doing, Earl, with all those young kids that we want to bring back from the mainland, or who are here but they haven't had the message yet, to get into technology, to take a jump, take a leap, start a technology company, do the kinds of things you did how many years ago? 15 years, 20 years ago?
17 years
17. I don't know who's counting.
17 and a half.
And make a business. So the question is this university addressed to them in some way, or does it have a secondary effect by somehow stimulating those kids to start businesses, maybe to serve with you in dealing with the club, maybe to meet at middle tier, not inside Hawaiian Telecom, but as a separate industry. In other words, is that part of what you see in the strategy? We'd like you to see that, but do you?
I think that's part of the overall picture of really bringing everybody together. And we actually have multiple events in addition to the Hawaiian Telecom University. There's also another event that we're actually kind of bringing along in parallel to it at the actual event that actually ties into some of the things that we're doing out at the university level and at the K-12 type of level, where we're trying to get out further into the it's not just about the businesses right now, because folks who are in school are going to be the folks who are going to be opening new businesses, are going to be the ones who are going to be innovating and being out there. I consider myself kind of fortunate in that I'm born and raised here, and I was able to get a good position in the technology area, and not have
Both
to,
Earl and I are envious, by the way.
and not have to leave. So I mean, definitely being able to expand that opportunity out to as many people here, because I mean, there are a lot of talented individuals here that are probably don't even realize it yet, but are going to be the ones who are going to be innovating and are going to be the ones who are bringing forward these solutions, bring forward more technology into the state.
Amen. Okay, Earl, I'll let you close because we're out of time.
Okay.
But in closing, I wish, could you give Ryan a rating of some kind? Did he get a 4.0 or is he also at the 3.9?
I give him a 3.95.
Pretty good. So close. Give us your reaction to all of this.
Again, the Hawaiian Telecom University, that's again the biggest event that the Hawaiian Telecom puts on this year. We're really excited about it. Just bringing, going through the acquisition last year and actually bringing the cloud technology and some of the back end into Hawaiian Telecom. So this is our a good opportunity for us to get that out there and into the business community and like Ryan said, start the discussion in a kind of a neutral perspective with the customers, not in a selling atmosphere, but also it's just more from an educational standpoint, letting them know what's out there.
Great.
Okay.
It's got to be good. Rising tide, all boats, all that.
Right.
Thank you so much, Ryan Miyamoto, Senior Product Manager, Business Market for Hawaiian Telecom, and Earl Ford, the President of Systemetrics. And I think you did 3.9 and 3.95 respectively. I think that's an excellent rating. Good show, good discussion. This is Think Tech Talks, talking about Hawaiian Telecom University 2014. Hope it goes well for you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you so much.
Aloha.